Hello, everybody. Today's April 28th, and I forgot to ask what sections we're doing, and I wasn't paying attention. Whoops.
Ooh, now that you ask, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Business and I think probably social.
Yeah. I said there's a bunch of Apple stories right at the front. We were just talking about that.
It is business and social, and this is a long one. Business has been there's been a lot of business stories in April. And the first, Krista. Is that the metal bowl?
Taking his dish to the kitchen.
I hope it's because it's empty and not because he's refilling it.
No.
Well, the Apple news, they had their big thing and they had a lot of news. And I guess what I consider to be the biggest story of the year, I guess, is the M1. And this is not surprising considering they've replaced a ton of their most popular products with the M1 chip.
Yeah. Apple now selling more M1 Macs than Intel-based Macs, says Tim Cook. And in this presentation, they also unveiled the M1-based iMac, which was fabulously expensive. So all these devices have the M1 in them, and they range in price from like $600 to $3,000. But it's more or less the same M1. They also got in a lot of hearty mocking of Intel for the relatively ridiculous thermal and power requirements. They're like, the old iMac, is basically a hairdryer of heat production. But these new M1 Macs, we can run it off of a crappy USB-C connection.
Chris, I just destroyed the sort on this because I realized I thought I had the iMac story in here. I guess this is it. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is it.
Apple introduces a colorful new iMac. It's thin, and it runs on the M1, and it's got a better webcam and microphone, which maybe ultimately we'll see better webcams and microphones in laptops. That's not like 10 years overdue. But yeah, it's M1 based, and that's the motherboard. It's tiny. There's nothing in there. It's just...
What was the price on this bad boy? I thought I saw it.
Up to $3,000.
Whoa.
It's only 24 inches too, but it's $4.5K.
Starts at $1,299, and you don't get much for that.
No.
I've heard mixed reactions to the new iMac. Some people are like, oh, it's really ugly, but some people really like it.
Oh, and you can't get the $1,300 one. You cannot get yellow or orange. The other one I saw, I thought I included a story about this, but it was the iPad Pro is also now M1.
Yeah, and it's only $800, which is still kind of a lot.
What a steal. Now, this story I saw, and I thought to myself, oh, that's going to be like a cool, like universal thing, and it's going to have all kinds of features, but it turned out to be pretty lackluster, actually, and ridiculously expensive.
Apple unveils a redesigned remote for its new Apple TV 4K. The Apple TV 4K, I think, was the more interesting thing than the remote, but the remote is like a little touch wheel in the middle. We're back to the iPod. This is going to be the iPod classic of remotes.
Also, Siri.
Yeah.
Siri lives in the remote now.
Siri button on the side.
Is that a downgrade for her, you think?
Well, it's got to be cramped space, doesn't it?
Yeah. Just tiny house living for Siri.
There are a couple of things that I'm very surprised that Apple is the first one to actually finish, which is like you can hold your iPhone up to a TV that's connected to Apple TV and it'll color calibrate it for you. Why did nobody think of that until now?
Well, they probably don't want to put that much hardware into it, right?
Well, I mean, they're just using the front-facing camera on an iPhone.
Yeah, but doesn't it have to... Is it all just software, I guess?
Yeah.
I guess those cameras are good enough now.
Yeah.
That you don't have to worry about
that. The
that.
hilarious thing is that all of your content now has to be consumed through the Apple TV in order to get the color corrections. Whereas, Samsung, who actually makes TVs, doesn't have that feature in their Samsung phones. They were working on Bixby.
They're working on refrigerators that will degrade after 3 years.
It's not Bixby, it's Samsung Free.
Samsung Free, can you calibrate my TV? What?
Free of decent ideas. And the other big thing that is more and more being exposed recently, I actually cut the article out last time because it was kind of a rehash of what we said last week, but there's one particular guy who is just gutting the walled garden idea. And he keeps just tweeting out, just app after app, he keeps showing how dangerous they are. And these are
Tim Cook is going to call him and be like, if we give you $5 million, will you retire? I'd probably do it.
Yeah, I would.
It would be totally worth it for them to not get this headline, because this is a terrible headline if you're Apple.
Apple's App Store hosted kiddie games with secret gambling dens inside. Not just one. There's a lot. There is rampant Apple App Store fraud. Or if you're Tim Sweeney, you could call him up and be like, I'll give you $5 million to keep going. I mean, one of those two people need to be calling him. So depending on which region you're in, you get a buggy, and look, it's got lines around it. That's when your PNGs are misaligned. I know that one. But you get this really terrible, just crappy platformer game. Unless you're in the right region, your IP address is in the right country.
Which is Turkey.
And then it's a gambling application. And technically, this is actually okay in the App Store. Like, you could have a gambling application in the App Store just for Turkey, as long as you're following the rules and the laws for Turkey. Like, that's actually okay.
But something tells me they're not paying their 30%.
Probably not.
Yeah. Krista, the sub-headline here, if you could please pronounce this gentleman's name.
Costa Eleftherio.
I think that's probably pretty close.
Wow.
I don't think so. Someone will tell me why that's wrong.
That's worth a Patreon or float plane sub. Easy.
And we talked last week about the rise of biometric payment confirmations. That is going to be the wave of the future. And
Face recognition was the headline last week.
yeah, and well, to be fair, I don't think anybody else is doing this.
No.
This is just Amazon.
Amazon One's palm scanning payments are coming to Whole Foods. So in addition to taking a really high resolution version of your palm, it also hits your palm with, oh, I've stained my skin with the, look at that.
Is that the orange soda?
That's the orange soda.
Oh, I can't see it with my little.
It's I've got, oh, that's not good. It's stained my hand.
Imagine what it's doing to your esophagus.
Fanta hands.
No, it's Fago, Kristen.
Oh, Fago, right. Oh, Fanta's probably another brand we could try. It would be another week.
Oh, yeah.
Amazon's thing hits your palm with a special light so they can also see the vein pattern. So they take into account both the skin and subdural aspects of this. Would you say that you have to hand it to them for this technology?
I would not say that.
No, I wouldn't say that.
I would avoid saying that at all costs. Google has always gotten some flack from angry businesses because they're like, hey, it's not fair what you're doing to me in the search results. I'm number one. Look, this search is about my company. I'm number one. And Google's like, listen, it's the algorithm. Don't argue with it.
I was ready to mock Daily Mail until I read this, and I was like, well, there might be something to this.
Yeah, Daily Mail put together a pretty strong argument. I don't like their case in court because Google.
Yeah,
you know. But if you just look at the facts here, they do have a point.
Daily Mail owners use Google over search results. So Daily Mail is arguing that unless they buy a lot of search ads, they don't rank very highly. And Exhibit A is that if you search for a particular person, they've written all kinds of articles and stuff about it. And
celebrities.
Yeah, and they had not, they didn't rank very highly. And in one particular story, people were literally searching for quotes from one of the people that had written about that, who also happens to work for Daily Mail. And Daily Mail was still not ranking very high.
But the things that were ranking above the Daily Mail were other news organizations referencing the story and the quotes in the Daily Mail. So, pretty good argument there.
I'm pretty sure this is why Google spun off a lot of this stuff into... or like Alphabet has the different business units now, is to try to prevent these kinds of things, because whether it's a conscious effort or not, I'm sure these kinds of things happen.
Now, I don't know about you two, but if there's one thing I need more of in my life, it's video streaming services to choose from. There just aren't enough. I need more monthly subscriptions. That's what I need, and thank God Sony's got my back here.
Sony looks set to announce PlayStation Plus Video Pass. Website listing suggests Sony could offer video content as part of its subscriptions. So I looked at this, and Sony wants to offer Sony content in like a Sony Netflix, but Sony, for whatever reason, has just a terrible imagination. They can't picture how people actually want to use their products. Remember the PlayStation Portable, the optical disc thing? And they were like, we're going to do movies for this. Nobody ever bought movies. They made a lot of movies. I mean, it was the whole Sony catalog.
That was a terrible form factor for viewing movies.
It was a terrible form. And the costs were insane. It was like, I can buy this movie for $20 on a DVD, and I can buy the same movie for $20 on PlayStation Portable.
How about the battery life? After 2 hours of movie?
Yeah.
That thing's done.
Yeah, and they were like, I don't understand why it's not working. It's like, it's not working because you guys are stupid.
That could be the answer to a lot of why is it not working. So we'll see. I think that probably this is added value for people who are going to be on this service anyway, but I don't think it's going to attract a lot of new people to it.
I like to imagine it's just hours of Spyro cutscenes. Like, that's the main thing it's offering.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to give you any Spyro cutscenes, Krista.
That's really disappointing, and I will not be subscribing to it for that reason.
You're going to have to collect all the old discs of Spyro and rip them and pull the video out and make your own.
I'm sure
Supercuts.
someone's already done that, and I bet it's all over YouTube.
Yeah, that's probably true. Well, the electric car world is heating up. I think with the Mustang, we have seen perhaps the first real competitor to the Tesla. And people seem to be a big fan of it. But that,
Except for the cost.
well, even then, that's more of an entry-level version, is the Mustang.
Yeah.
If you want to get real classy and get a sexy high-dollar electric car, here's the one you want to go for. Well, actually, I probably want to go for that Taycan. Those are nice. But this one is also very nice. It's also 460-some horsepower and 560-some pound-feet of torque. So it's fast.
Audi A6 e-tron. E-tron. Oh, what a terrible name. Concept has a digital headlight that can project video games to a wall. So the reason that the headlights have that is for two reasons. One, they can project turn signals and crap like that on the road in front of you, and also other information. So they can kind of use the road as a heads-up display, which is interesting.
I think Mercedes is already doing that.
The other reason is that, if you're in a residential area or there's oncoming traffic or whatever,
or a charging station,
it doesn't project light on that. So like it doesn't, like the light doesn't hit an oncoming driver, which is kind of cool.
Well, you're
That's
leaving
a
out
nice
the most
feature.
obvious one. While you're charging it, you can play Punch Out.
Well, that one-up's playing Punch Out on the internal LCD screen. Is that?
In fact, they redesigned, when I was reading this, I had JavaScript turned off, so I didn't actually get to look at the interior. But they claim that they took the opposite approach. And of course, Tom's guide gives me no pictures of the interior, even though they referenced it. But they took the opposite approach. Tesla has the one big screen in the middle. And so is it Audi or Audi? People always correct us. I never can remember. But they have just blanketed the entire dashboard in LCD screens. Just
it's an
full,
innie and an Audi.
all of the information the car could give you is going to be just blindingly shining into your face the entire time.
Your passenger can only watch Netflix on a postage stamp-sized LCD screen to be sure that the driver can't see it.
No, it's a PSP.
Maximum inefficiency, so that way when one breaks, it's like, well, shit, now I can't get to that one piece of information.
You can kind of do Netflix on a PSP with the hacked firmware by streaming it.
I totally got these two stories confused. This is the one that has the interior.
Oh.
What was I
was
thinking?
like, I didn't see that, but okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Mercedes-Benz unveils a new flagship EQS electric sedan to take on Tesla. There's no pricing, so probably between $100,000 and $160,000.
Over $100,000 for sure. There it
So,
is.
Yeah.
I just vomited in my mouth a little bit.
It
Not
does
from the
look
picture,
very.
just the price.
It does look very futury. Look at those vents. Those vents are interesting.
I mean, it's pretty, but there's part of me that just feels like screens are inefficient for.
Yeah, for sure. I don't
This
see a
kind
lot
of
of
thing.
tactile feedback on any of those controls. They do
Yeah.
have that the centerpiece there seems to have real buttons maybe. But yeah, there it is. It's a kind of classy looking car, more classy, I guess. Certainly better looking than a Tesla. I think that also might be the one that had those performance metrics I was mentioning earlier. Yeah, 516 horsepower and 611 pound-feet of torque. Nice. I don't think
Good
I'll be
grief.
buying one of those.
No.
Cryptocurrencies are down at the time that we're recording this,
They're
but
up, they're down,
yeah, I don't think they'll
both
stay down for long. People are excited, and more people are trying to get into them. So what do you do if you're a payment company? You got to get on the bandwagon.
Venmo will now let you buy and sell and also hodl cryptocurrency. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and a couple others. Doge wasn't in there, was it?
I don't remember.
Doge.
Those are definitely Litecoin is usually in the list.
Yeah.
Ripple used to be, but
That whole investigation, it's really kind of a downer.
I'm up like 300% on my Ripple, but I can't sell it.
That's the fraud. It's like, it says it's worth $1 million, but I can't sell it anywhere. Oh, you might be able to trade it for some other cryptocurrency. It's like arrange an exchange with somebody.
You can transfer it, yeah. You just can't sell it on Coinbase. I could probably transfer it to another exchange and do it, but you know what? I'll just hang on to it. It was a moonshot anyway. Right? I was trying to remember what this was. Discord. Discord is for sale, and a lot of suitors have been coming along and trying to woo them and tell them all the money they would give it for it. But seems like no one has been able to really measure up.
Chats with Microsoft and everybody else, I don't know, but the headline is roughly this: Discord is no longer talking to anybody about an acquisition, including Microsoft. So Microsoft has sort of commented that they want too much money.
I think 12 billion was floated as what might have been offered, and they wanted more than that, I guess. So now they will go with an IPO.
I think that's probably a better thing for the future of Discord, because at the end of the day, Discord is IRC with GIFs, and now also voice chat.
But what was that last big IPO? It wasn't an IPO. It's just that they listed on the market.
Coinbase.
Oh yeah. They did not. I think they went down afterwards.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as what people thought it would be.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a good chance for you to do a little gambling if you want. Jump on that Discord IPO. Of course. Here's the missorted article.
The new iPad Pro features Apple's M1 chip. Yeah, we mentioned that. We already knew that. We don't need to go into details.
It's fast. People love it.
I think what Apple's vision of doing here is like you buy the iMac, and then you get a couple of iPads if you want the touchscreen experience on a Mac, and it like docks, Voltron style, and that's how you're going to do it.
And then what do you do about your crippling debt?
Well, you owe your soul to the company store.
Right.
That's by design.
But they're not even going to let you work it off like the old company store.
I can't wait for iFixit's teardown of the iMac, because it's going to be about $35 of parts that they're selling for. The 2 terabyte hard drive upgrade costs $1,100.
That makes perfect sense.
Whew.
Somebody should figure out what that costs per transistor.
It's measurable.
Well, we are going back to the moon, Alice. We're going to do it. Nobody's going to stop us. And we're probably it's going to be like one of those race car movies where they're like trading paint, but it's going to be us and Russia, our rockets going up there, like, trying to see who can get there first.
I feel like WAPO is a little bit clickbait.
Well, maybe, but the answer or the question is, who is going to carry us to the moon? Because, of course, NASA no longer builds the rockets. So we must now do that privately. And we have options. So who did we choose? Some of you will be so excited to learn.
Elon Musk's SpaceX wins contract to develop a spacecraft that lands astronauts on the moon. The company beat out Jeff Bezos, Blue Origin, and Dynetics, a defense contractor. Although the article goes on to say that all 3 of them did compete in some sort of like pre-funding thing, and Blue Origin and Dynetics are not out completely, so it's a little misleading.
Did you notice why Tesla won or SpaceX won that lowest price?
Yeah. Well,
every price was above what NASA's budget was, and the first one to come back with a realistic price was Musk.
Neat. Oh, you wanted them there alive?
Oh.
What about organ failure? Is that acceptable? Because these things move really fast.
Little radiation, okay.
And Doge, as you mentioned earlier, is or was the hot coin there for a few minutes. Mr. Musk contributed to that madness, as he usually likes to do on Twitter. It has been declining with the rest of the crypto world.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's because the whole crypto space is going down, or maybe Doge is dragging them down. But one thing's for sure, companies noticed, and they wanted to get on the bandwagon.
Online retailer Newegg accepting Dogecoin as a payment option. That's it. That's the story.
Krista, we need to invent a crypto coin and get Rue as the mascot.
I was about to say, Rue had some thoughts about this because she immediately farted as soon as you read the headline. She wants to be the mascot for Dogecoin. This is a good picture at the top of this headline. I like the little.
Those dogs are
hat.
adorable.
Somebody
They
drew
are.
the hat.
Oh, you think that's?
It's not
Yeah,
real.
that's.
Oh yeah,
not
yeah,
real.
because it's
Yeah.
like a single
It's an
color.
emoji.
Well, augmented reality. We were promised it so long ago,
Repeatedly.
and
Remember
it has
Google Glass?
not come to fruition. And all of the companies that started working on it seem to be like, yeah, we're out of that. I mean, Google, they kind of just gave up. They probably got as far as anybody. Microsoft had theirs. It was not impressive. So you got to wonder if this is going to be anything at all.
Magic Leap 2 headset to be unveiled at the end of the year, CEO says.
Does that not look almost exactly like a supervillain or a superhero's goggles? I can't remember
Yeah.
which one.
Doc Ock is targeting Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say it reminds me of the octopus guy from Spider-Man.
So who knows? Who knows how good that'll be?
There's no pictures or anything, no video.
But they are not the only one to be dealing in augmented reality. However, Amazon has taken a different tack on how they want to approach it.
Amazon is, sort of opening an augmented reality hair salon thing, and nobody's really quite sure what they're going to do with it.
Well, I imagine it's going to be so you can preview hairstyles
Yeah,
and
there's
looks
a picture of that.
and stuff like that.
But they kind of want to sell other Amazon products there. They kind of hinted that they wanted to, like...
Well, how many times have you been getting your hair cut and been like, oh, I need an Alexa?
I need
I
some
think-
Amazon basics.
I think what happens is they're going to have, like, because that's a big thing about salons, right, Krista? They use products on you and then they sell those same products.
Yeah, so they, at least everyone I've ever been to, they're like, oh, here's the conditioner I use. You can buy it for $20.
Right. So instead of taking that home with you, you can just scan it with your phone and get it on Amazon.
The article also raises biometrics as, like, another sort of a thing. It's like the hand scanner thing. It's like, oh, they're going to have even more biometrics on you because, you're looking at what a haircut might look like.
So they will take your cut hair and deposit that in the DNA receptacle. They will record all of your biometrics, your payment information, and your phone's unique ID.
Oh, you should go ahead and start a calcium supplement right now. What?
But you'll look amazing.
Have you had a talk with your oncologist lately? What?
Oh.
I don't have an oncologist.
Well, when you get one, PayPal is looking to do some crypto stuff in China, and you're thinking, wait a minute, didn't China just almost kill a guy for that?
I have an alternative headline for this story.
But yeah, they did, and PayPal is being very careful not to compete with the official Chinese crypto that is out now. They're doing something a little different.
PayPal to launch is the CNBC headline is PayPal to launch a local wallet in China focused on cross-border payments. Here's the alternative headline that I have for you. PayPal and China to work together to find new organ donors.
Or to track, is it diaspora? I always said diaspora, but somebody corrected me. But that was a YouTube comment, so I don't know if I can trust it.
Yeah, they. I just can't imagine after all of the stories that we have that this is anything other than, China wanting to track who people are sending money to outside of China to put a stop to it.
Oh, no.
Unprofessional.
It's fine.
I've been getting way fewer robocalls. Have you noticed any reduction?
I've noticed no reduction.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, mine are about the same.
Do they just get tired of my jokes?
Maybe.
The next two stories are press releases. These are not news stories, but there is one little nugget in each of them that is worth pointing out. And if you are one of these people who is dreaming of, the crossover to OS desktop,
This ain't it.
one step closer, though, you got to admit, they're at least trying to PR it.
Announcing Windows 10 Insider Preview Build 21.364. For the love of all that is holy, do not install this on your machine. This is, it's so buggy. But you can now run Linux GUI applications directly under the Windows subsystem for Linux. So you can run the Linux kernel and, you can do that kind of thing. OpenSUSE and Ubuntu have already updated their WSL distros, so you can run XFCE or GNOME or whatever graphically through that environment, which is pretty awesome. Another big news is I think Vulkan. You can compile Vulkan now with Visual Studio, so you could do you could do some of the Vulkan API that the Linux programs will try to use, but actually on Windows, which is pretty awesome.
And that process should compile a little bit faster after you get the newest version of Visual Studio.
Visual Studio 2022, now actually 64-bit, and they've got a demo video of it opening 300,000 files and far exceeding 4 gigabytes of memory. Because up till now, it couldn't use more than 4 gigs of memory.
Seems like that should have happened a long time ago.
Long time ago.
But hey, at least we've got it. And Visual Studio is not terrible in terms of
Visual Studio Code.
IDE, yeah. We talked about the Floc in the government section or the security section because
birds of a feather flock together.
Some people are saying, you know what, maybe we'll just block it because why would anybody?
Let's not have it.
It's still just spying and
Block the
WordPress.
Floc.
WordPress, that's a good.
They've been flock blocked.
I think you just found the title.
Oh, I'm going to put that down because we'll forget it next week when we start writing titles.
So we know WordPress is not they're not going to join the Floc, but who is going to join the Floc?
Nobody is flying to join Google's Floc. Brave, Vivaldi, Edge, and Mozilla are all out. It's like, no, we're not helping with this.
Yikes. Apple liked this post.
Sauron's like, oh man, what? No, come on, guys. Come on.
And of course, the hot new thing to attack tech companies about is children. And you just line them up and you go down the row. Okay, we got Facebook. All right, we got YouTube, Instagram last week. Who's next?
TikTok sued for billions over use of children's data. So I was expecting this to be something that it wasn't. So it turns out that, when TikTok is the accusation here is pretty interesting. If I understood it right, which I'm not, it seems a little all over the place. It seemed like they were saying that, collecting children's data in the EU or the UK, not okay, and so they still collect it, but then they distribute it in other regions where maybe that would be okay, or they use it in other countries, and so it's like, well, but you're still using the data.
It's still children's data.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they want to do a class action on behalf of all the children. So we'll see what happens.
We know it's not legal to use children's blood for medical experimentation in the UK, which is why we flew it to Singapore.
Now, when you operate in, writing software or operating websites or, doing this kind of thing for a living, I think we've all had that moment where we accidentally sent the email to the wrong place. And you usually develop an intense fear of that after the first time that you do it.
Usually.
And it doesn't happen again. Unfortunately, at Facebook, we know they've done this several times. Several times we've seen them do that, and yet they can't stop doing it. They just keep making really embarrassing misclicks in their email program.
Oh, it would be so cool if everybody normalized these pesky data leaks. It says data leaking Facebook in leak memo. Now, they didn't actually say leak. It's scraping. They're talking about scraping. And so it's like, look, there's a lot of information on the web, and we can't help that people will scrape information off of the public side of the web. It happened with LinkedIn. It happened with blah, blah, blah. It's going to keep happening. We need to normalize that. We need to team up.
So this is the exact quote, and I don't think you can interpret it in any way that makes it not awful, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is it's obvious what's happening.
Here's
here.
the exact quote. Longer term, though, we expect more scraping incidents and think it's important to both frame this as a broad industry issue and to normalize the fact that this activity happens regularly.
So if you have a Facebook account, what he's saying is expect more of this and expect him to do nothing about it.
The article goes on to talk about how a researcher reported that it was possible to scrape phone numbers, and Google's like, Facebook was like, yeah, you can scrape the phone book too. What's the problem?
That's how we designed it. The other thing that seems a little tone deaf in the Facebook house is they are constantly under fire for leaking data. So they're clearly trying to get, the PR machine ahead of that. But they're also very seriously being accused of antitrust. So you would think that maybe, like the acquisition team or the copy team would be like, you know what? Let's slow down a little bit. Let's take 2021 off. Let this cool down.
This little girl has a successful lemonade stand. Do we need to crush it with the force of a multi-billion-dollar company? It's like, yes.
Yeah, that's not how they operate. If they find something that might threaten them, they either buy it or they kill it.
Mark Zuckerberg announces Facebook is working on a Clubhouse clone, in those words, which is probably not great for the ongoing antitrust trials. Oh, this is a good product. We're going to make our own version of that.
So Facebook pages can now have an audio segment. Well, not yet, but they will have an audio thing that's similar to Clubhouse. And they're going to give you a subscription infrastructure with which to monetize it.
Neat.
How many people are in our audience would be excited to join our Facebook Clubhouse?
We had a Facebook page for a while. It did not do great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Clubhouse data, like the scraping of the Clubhouse data, is also fairly extreme. So it might be a touch irresponsible of us to encourage people to use Clubhouse, because surely there's a way of doing that is a little bit more friendly to giant corporation not losing everything.
The other, so we've talked for years about Facebook moderators, and we know that they look at some really, really nasty stuff. Animals being killed, rapes, murders, people being burned. I mean, it's just, the darkest things that you can imagine on Facebook get flagged, and they have to watch every one of them and decide if they're okay or not.
Pretty horrifying.
And for years, it's like, oh, we need to give them better tools. We need to give them better counseling or whatever. And it seems like they've basically done nothing.
We're the tonsils of the internet. Buzzfeed reporter shares Facebook content moderator resignation. If you don't read anything this week, go read this, because it will make you weep for the future of humanity, one. And number two, I don't think that we will ever get to a point where an algorithm can really properly handle this. And at the same time, we should not subject human beings to this.
We were just talking about the nightmare that the Level 1 forum has become. In terms of just the insanity. Yeah. And imagine scaling that up a million times.
Yeah.
More than a million.
Yeah.
A billion times. That's, yeah. So I'm sure that's awful. I saw a picture I didn't like this week. But Facebook is not the only one. It seems like the voice, social thing is the hot new thing, and everybody's got to take a stab at it.
Reddit Talk is a Clubhouse competitor for subreddits. So, yeah, just Reddit Talk. It's basically a clone of Clubhouse, but on Reddit. So they beat Mark Zuckerberg to the punch, which is surprising considering that, by all appearances, Reddit has a shoestring technical budget.
Reddit is another place where we post stuff sometimes, or we did in the beginning, and nobody cared.
We do actually still post. Everything is all
Yeah,
automated.
there's a bot.
But it's like 0 comments every time. Nobody cares.
Well,
we get some comments in there every now and then.
what happens is people take that and then share it elsewhere on Reddit, and then that gets a lot of comments. You got to use the other tab.
That doesn't help us.
Yeah.
And Apple, the walled garden, of course, we have shown countless ways in which it is broken, and you can get almost anything on there.
Literal fraud.
But one thing you couldn't get on there until now was this.
Apple will let Parler back on the App Store because now they've got at least some content moderation. So people can flag something and say, hey, this is not appropriate, and have it taken down. That was all Apple was looking for the entire time.
Well, they also got rid of that CEO.
Well, he might have...
Yeah, I think that was a big point.
Do you think people will like Parler, though, if they have any form of moderation?
There's definitely that whole thing where people expect it to be completely wide open, and they immediately test that. And then it immediately causes problems.
Yes.
I think it's a little bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy with these, free speech apps.
The My Pillow guy doesn't like me talking about Nietzsche. I don't know what his problem is.
I think I know what his problem is. I looked up the Cube pillow. $120.
Wow.
Yeah. $100 for one pillow.
That's why you brought me to get back at me, because you knew.
Listen, I didn't know the Faygo was going to have toxic dye in it. I assumed it was for human consumption.
That was your first mistake.
If I can find an even more obscure orange soda, I'm bringing it next week.
Fanta. We were talking about Fanta's one.
Do they have diet though?
Let's look it up.
And our final story, and this is hilarious because we talk about, like things on social media that you should never post on social media. For example, you doing crime, you holding a gun, you holding stolen cash. All of that stuff is a terrible idea. When you want to try to keep something secret, don't put it on social media, which is why you have to scratch your head over this one.
MI5 joins Instagram to bust martini-drinking stereotypes. MI5, that's the British spy agency. So they've been posting pictures like, this is what people see at our Thames building when you're working as a spy. This is probably a recruitment thing. They're probably all getting really old. They're probably all over 40, and no one wants to work for MI5, and they need more people working for MI5. So that's why they're doing this, probably.
But why would they try to get away from the Bond stereotype? Don't people love Bond?
A lot of what they're doing is probably like what the guy was doing with the Celebrite thing.
But Krista, even Bond is trying to get away from Bond because he's toxic and white.
You could not make the old Sean Connery Bond movies today.
Oh, God, no. Oh, you couldn't even make the early Daniel Craig movies today.
You couldn't make Blazing Saddles, and that's a crime.
Different genre, but yeah, sure.
Also, I confirmed there is a Diet Orange Fanta, but it's Fanta Zero is what it's called.
Oh, okay. Well, that's the same thing, right?
Also,
it's a different kind of sweetener.
Listen,
there's a website called canmuseum.com that fills the image results.
I'll drink just about anything you put in front of me that actually comes from, a supermarket.
Now, there's a challenge you're not really ready to do.
Yeah. There's some weird sodas out there.
I had the Thanksgiving in a can soda. It was not great.
But those are just
Doesn't
meme
sound
sodas.
good.
That's like people buy that. That is a regularly consumed.
Yeah, I guess that's true. I wonder if they have that problem.
I'm sure they have a lot of problems that stem from drinking a lot of Diet Fago. But I'd say Crush is probably, not great for you either.
No.
None of them are great.
If I had more than 2 in a day, my body was like, stop.
I would say give us recommendations, and I'm sure you will, but we're limited to what we can find here. And I'm not paying, $10 a can on Amazon for this stuff.
I was delighted. The local grocery chain also now has proper tasting stroopwafels. So some of the fans sent us the European stroopwafels, which were far superior to anything that we have in America that was called the same thing. But now and it's just as good.
I'm going to anger some people by saying I never liked them.
Really?
I don't like the consistency of them. They're too soft.
Did you try the chocolate ones?
Yeah. I tried all of them that whoever sent them.
I like the ones that are it's like a little bit of chocolate, not the ones that were dipped in chocolate.
You know what I did eat earlier this week though? As I get one sugar treat per week.
Oh.
And here's a blast from the past that I bet you haven't thought about in a long time. Hobnobs.
Oh, yeah.
Remember how we were into hobnobs for a while?
Yeah.
They are
really good.
Can you still get those?
Yeah.
Same section you get the stroopwafels.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like the European section.
I'll get some of those. I really like the chocolate hobnobs. Those are really good.
Yeah.
Although those were best with the Taiwanese tea, and I've been out for over a year.
First world problems, right, chap?
Yeah.
So we'll see you on Friday. Friday's going to be robot. Have we done? Yeah, robot nonsense.
Robot nonsense, yeah. All is as it should be.
Woo!
Bye.